Hello, everyone. Today I'm joined by Sam, who is known as Cancel Me on YouTube, and he's got a really cool project that we're here to talk about today. We're going to talk about how we got into the EU in general as well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to do this. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks now, so it's
Yeah,
good to finally do it. So,
for sure, for sure.
so what was your introduction to Star Wars? Just Star Wars in general?
Um, I mean, when I was like super little, I had like seen stuff about it. Like I knew about the existence of Star Wars. I think it was like 2007. I got to watch The Phantom Menace. It was just
Mm,
like on TV, and I don't know, man. I was just amazed. Like I hadn't seen anything like it before. Just, love at first sight.
yeah,
Um, Yeah, because my parents weren't like super big on Star Wars, so they never showed it to me when I was younger than that, you know.
yeah.
So kind of got into it on my own. Um, but yeah, like Phantom Menace was my introduction to it, and it's just been, I don't know, man. I've just been obsessed with it ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you then watch like the other movies on your own? And
Yeah,
like that was what you did next? Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then
The
there's
Okay.
several entry points into the EU. How'd you first become aware that there was more than the films?
Um, I had read a couple of comics when I was younger, but I didn't know like of I just didn't see it as the EU. I was like, oh, okay, a Star Wars comic,
Yeah.
whatever. But when it came 2015, whenever the sequels started to come out, I went to watch the first one. I liked it. I thought it was a pretty okay movie.
Yeah.
And then after The Last Jedi, I was pretty upset and I stopped. I didn't watch anything until like late 2020,
Mm,
whenever what's it called, the last movie Rise of Skywalker came to Disney Plus, and I was like, let me see what this is about.
yeah.
And I watched it and I was like, yeah, man, that's not it. And
Yeah.
then yeah, and then I started watching Mandalorian afterwards, and that's
Mm,
what got me back into it.
yeah.
And I started doing like research about Mandalorian culture
Mm,
at that point, and I saw that there was like a difference between like the Mandalorian culture and Legends and the Mandalorian culture and canon. And
yeah.
then I started to look more into Legends because to me it was just more interesting. It was
Mm,
more like well built and the stories were just told better.
yeah.
So I started looking into that, and then I read Heir to the Empire,
Mm,
um the whole trilogy, right? But
yeah. The Thrawn
um
trilogy.
yeah, and then I read Dark Empire,
Mm,
and I started on uh Crimson Empire,
yeah.
but I saw that it wasn't like it was cool, but it wasn't something super major.
Yeah.
So I stopped after the first few issues,
Mm,
and I started on the Jedi Academy trilogy. But
nice.
yeah, I kind of take like really big breaks in between.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
I finished Dark Empire like August, no, no, not even August, like June of last year. And then I started Jedi Academy like last month. So I just
Gotcha.
take like super huge breaks in between, but
Yeah.
um yeah, I read the first and second books of Jedi Academy, and I'm like almost done with the last one. I'm almost done with Champions of the Force right now.
Nice.
But
How are you enjoying that series?
man, I'm loving it. Like so
Yeah.
far in the post-Endor period, it's like my favorite.
Yeah. It's so good. It's my favorite era of Star Wars, like Return of the Jedi all the way through the Legacy comics, like
Hmm.
that's the best area of Star Wars in my opinion.
Oh,
What did you
same.
think of the stylization of Dark Empire? Because like the art style is very like stylized, and it's kind of divisive. Some people really love it. I happen to be one of those.
Hmm.
Some people really hate it. Where did you fall?
Um, I it's not my favorite style, but I appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah,
You know,
gotcha.
like I think it's definitely something unique, and if it wasn't that stylized, I think it would just be weird. You
Yeah,
know, like because I just know it as that. Definitely
exactly.
some
Yeah,
weird stuff, but I definitely like seeing how they stylized it. You know, it, at the time that it came out, it made sense to
yeah,
be that style. So I don't really complain about it.
yeah. I think that's a very good take. Like, it's so weird. Like, if you just think, what if Dark Empire looked any differently? Like, that's just so weird to
Exactly.
think about, you know? So, like you said, it's
Yeah.
kind of what it had to be, I think. What did you think of the story
Mhm.
to Dark Empire, too? Because it's kind of a divisive one as well.
It's not my favorite part of the EU, but if it didn't exist in the EU, I definitely think it would be weird also because it
Yeah.
although I don't love the idea of Palpatine coming back, I think they handled it well. And I
Mm,
always see it as it like not being Palpatine because he's
mm,
like super crazy and psycho over there. He's not like cold and calculated as he
yeah.
was in, when he was actually alive. So I
Yeah.
almost see it as like a different villain, a different character
Mm, yeah.
than just Palpatine coming back. But although I don't love the idea, you have so many important things that happen. Like Anakin is born, you have
Mm,
the interactions with Leia Han and the kids.
yeah.
You have the introduction of dang it, what's that Jedi? He's
Cam
literally in the
Sol
Jedi Academy.
Cam
Cam Solusar.
Solusar. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
his introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have a lot of important things that happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, although I'm not the biggest fan, I think it's pretty important still for
Yeah.
that to exist. But yeah.
It's definitely an important part of the era. Um, and that's interesting about viewing Palpatine slightly different because it's kind of like his spirit. So it is almost a different character, like how he set that up to
Hmm.
where it's like almost a part of him, but not all of him is, coming back. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. And I assume you like the Thrawn trilogy. You're liking Jedi Academy, so you probably like
Yeah.
the Thrawn trilogy to want to continue on.
Yeah, no, for sure. It just felt like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like I feel like a lot of things that are coming out nowadays don't feel like Star Wars.
Mm,
Um, I couldn't watch Andor because it just
mm.
didn't feel like Star Wars to me. It felt like Blade Runner or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it just feels like Star Wars, man. It feels right. It feels like the story is continuing. It doesn't feel any different from George's movies, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Like even though there are some concepts in there that are a bit crazy or I mean, that's what Star Wars is really.
Yeah.
It feels right. So yeah, I love the Thrawn trilogy. I It took a while to get to it just because I'm kind of lazy, but when I get to it, I really get to it and I don't stop until I'm done. So
Yeah.
um yeah.
You've played a couple EU video games on your channel. I think Knights of the Old Republic was one that you were streaming.
Hmm.
Are you a big fan of those games?
I was never super big into the Old Republic. I know that
Mm.
like my friend, he's playing it with me. Like he gives me lore and like bits and pieces of it because he's like super big in the Old Republic.
Yeah.
Um, no, it's definitely like a cool game.
Mm.
I had played it before when I was like very young, but I don't really remember anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just like getting to play it with more of an understanding of the expanded universe.
Mhm.
Um, I've played SOTOR also,
Mm.
and I just bought all of Dark Forces games, Dark Forces
Ah,
Jedi Knight
nice.
games.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just bought all of them on May the 4th. There was like a sale on Steam, so I just
nice.
picked all of them up. And as soon as I'm done with the KOTOR games, I'm probably gonna play them. But yeah.
I love those games so much. Dark Forces. My brain went. Dark Forces is such a good game in my opinion. It's so much fun. Like the graphics are old, obviously, because it's from like
Mhm.
'94 or '95, but I love the stylization of the entire game. And my favorite EU video game of all of them is Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. It's so fun to get to go to in the game. You get to go to Yavin, so you're there at like
Yeah.
Luke's Jedi temple, and Luke like is training you, and like you get to see so much cool stuff there. And I just think it's so fun to play in that like post Return of the Jedi era because there's not many games set there. So
Hmm.
it's my favorite EU video game of all. I'm interested to hear your thoughts when you do play them. They're
Yeah,
great
no, for
games in my
sure.
opinion. Yeah,
I I know that a lot of EU fans like absolutely love those games, and I mean I can see why. Like visually those games are amazing. I know a bit about Kyle, and I think he's a pretty cool character.
yeah,
Like I have a lot of like general knowledge of the EU. Like I know how
yeah.
certain things go, kind of, but getting to read it firsthand is just a different experience.
Yeah, it was that way for me as well. In like 2017 was when I discovered the EU. And I was like, I read a Star Wars book and I was like, wait, this is different than The Last Jedi because Luke's Jedi Order succeeds in this book. And I was like, how
Hmm.
can that be? And then I found out there were different timelines. And so then I'd go on Wikipedia and like read about it. But then it's a completely different experience to like read about it online and then
Hmm.
actually read the material itself later on. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of fun.
no, for sure.
What's your favorite part of the EU so far?
So far it's the Jedi Academy, but I think that I'm gonna like either New Jedi Order or Legacy of the Force better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those are
I mean, yeah.
those are so good. Like you can't really beat them. They're really good. So are you
Yeah.
planning on reading like chronologically? So to get some of the other Bantam books after Jedi Academy and then go on to New Jedi Order?
Um, I was planning on doing that, but since starting the project, I low-key want to go back and read True Sabakura
Mm, yeah,
and like Courtship of Princess Leia and like certain things in that time period
yeah,
because that's where the project is gonna really start, you know.
mm,
So I definitely want to go back and give it a read and see what it's all about. Because for the project, we definitely want to just focus on the main things, the
mm,
main events. So I think definitely True Sabukura is a main event. Um,
yeah,
from what I know, I haven't read it, but also Courtship for Princess Leia, I think it's important for Leia's and Han's characters and
yeah,
um yeah, maybe do something with the Nagai invasion to
mm,
introduce Finchisa,
yeah,
because need a way to get Boba to Mandalore for a new Jedi Order.
yeah,
So yeah, I was talking to my friend that's on the project with me, Red. Um,
yeah,
his yeah, his Instagram is Gang Star Wars EU.
mm-hmm.
You know who he is? Yeah.
Yeah. I know him. Yeah,
Yeah, so we were talking, I think it was like 2 days ago, and I was telling him like we need a couple loose episodes to introduce certain things that are going to be important in the future. So definitely need a episode with Boba killing Fenchisa and becoming Mandalore, because he's important later on. But yeah,
yeah,
I want to go back and read those, and um later on I want to read the Republic comics
yeah.
also.
The Republic comics are
Yeah.
so good. I really like them. We were talking a bit before we started recording about how kind of the Clone Wars era is kind of oversaturated. So you kind
Hmm.
of kept your distance for a little while, but you want to read Republic. Republic's really good. It has some good stuff for Mandalorians in there. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
so you talked a bit about the project that you have going on, and that's kind of the main topic that we're here to talk about today. And that's kind of what is this project? how you're going to tackle it, what your ideas are for it. It's a pretty great vision, I think, that you have for this project. So do you want to talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, I've had this idea for a while, like, man, since I started reading the EU, since I got tired of Disney, Star Wars, I've had this idea. And it was something that I wanted to do in the future when I had a bit more money.
Mm,
But when the Ahsoka trailer came out, it just that was like the last drop for me, man. I just
yeah.
I couldn't, man. I was like, no, I got to get started on working on this right now because I can't take any more of this. So I talked to Red about it. I messaged him about it, and because we used to like talk occasionally, like just
Yeah.
message about stuff. And I posted on Reddit. I posted on 3 different subreddits to get some people on board and stuff. I I spoke to this one guy. He has a similar project,
Mm,
but instead of doing like a variety of content, like because I wanted to do a show and whatever I could adapt into a movie, I would.
mm,
So Dark Empire, I think it's an easy movie adaptation. I think Jedi Academy is harder because more stuff happens on it.
yeah.
So I think that would have to be a show, you
Mm,
know. But um his idea was to make 27 movies,
mm,
and but what he wanted to do is make the first movie as a pilot
mm.
and try to present it to Disney for funding and all that sort of stuff. And I don't
Gotcha.
really want to
Yeah.
because I don't trust them with Star Wars anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just rather keep it like a fan made project.
Yeah.
Um, I would rather keep it like as true to the original as possible,
Mm,
but there are like small things that are they differ from some things are retconned by the prequels, and
yeah.
yeah, some things are just they don't fit well. So definitely gonna have to make minor adjustments, but I'm hoping to not do any damage with the minor adjustments, like
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to instate lore masters, like I told you.
Yeah.
Um because if there's like old Republic references and something goes wrong, I want people to who actually know that time period to be like, oh nah, that's not how it actually happened. You gotta,
Yeah.
change that. But yeah, I definitely want people who are big on the Clone Wars, people
Mm,
who are big on the um rebellion period.
yeah.
And just post Endor, we're gonna like all sit down and read it together and come up
Yeah.
with the ideas then and there. But yeah, I think it would be great to have like lore masters like that. And I definitely want to follow a continuity with the Republic comics
Mm,
um in the place of the Clone Wars, not
yeah.
Filoni's show, because I just feel like it doesn't fit well with the EU. I think it fits great with the new stuff that's coming out, but
Mm,
with the EU, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense for a lot of stuff. Mainly
yeah.
Mandalorian culture that I know about. It just differs greatly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
They're pacifists in the show versus warriors in some of the comics. So it just doesn't
yeah,
gel.
yeah. Also, Death Watch is gone by that point. I'm pretty sure, right?
That's a long, complicated series of stuff. There's sometimes in this comic, and then it's complicated, and they had to do several retcons via source material to try to like
Hmm.
explain it all. I don't know exactly. I'm not the most well versed on the timeline there because it's quite convoluted. Someone else could probably explain it better, but
Hmm.
there's discrepancies, and I don't think they're supposed to be there at that time compared to where we
Yeah,
saw them earlier, and they're supposed to be destroyed, I think. But I could be misremembering.
yeah.
Um,
Because I read the Django Open Seasons comics,
that's the one, yeah.
and from my understanding, that was the end of the Death Watch. Like that was it.
Seemingly, yeah.
But yeah, I don't
But
know.
then Dave Filoni came along and decided that they weren't gone, apparently. So
Yeah,
that's why it's so convoluted, because he brought stuff from the EU, but then he scrambled it all. So,
yeah, it's a
but the
bit
Clone
odd.
Wars show does tie into Fate of the Jedi a little bit. So, will you make any
Yeah.
adjustments there?
Um, I think it's more of like I'll figure it out when I get there. But
Yeah,
I know that like there are some references to Ahsoka, right? And there are
vague
some,
references. Yeah,
yeah, and there are some references. I think Luke tries to look for Mortis, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so definitely gonna have to deal with that, but it's more of like when we get there, we'll deal with it type of
yeah.
problem than,
Gotcha.
thinking about it now because there's so much other stuff that I have to think about right now. But
Yeah.
um,
The
yeah.
central villain to Fate of the Jedi, her name's Abeloth, and she's
Mhm.
essentially the mother. So it ties into Mortis of TCW, where there's like the father, the son, and the daughter, because the mother wasn't
Gotcha.
shown there, and then they say that Abeloth was the mother, so it like ties in
Mhm.
that way. So you'll cross that bridge when you come to it, and
Yeah,
decide what
like
to do.
Luke never finds it, right? Luke never finds the Mortis.
We never got to see that story played out. So by the end of Fate of the Jedi, he was sending Jedi teams to search for the dagger of Mortis. And
Mhm.
so they were setting it up to where in future books they could be looking for it and trying to find it, and that's how they
Mhm.
would stop Abeloth if she ever returned, because she's seemingly
Gotcha.
defeated by the end of Fate of the Jedi. But so they're trying to figure out um, where the Mortis dagger is. So it seems like they're going to be searching for it, but I don't recall him actually ever finding it within Fate of the Jedi itself.
Yeah. Um, was that gonna be played out in Sword of the Jedi, the
We
trilogy?
What we know that would have come is Sword of the Jedi trilogy, which would have
Mhm.
included Jaina Solo, and it would have been about basically her tracking down and destroying the lost tribe of the Sith, because the
Mhm.
Legacy comics have the one Sith, and the one Sith started to be introduced in Fate of the Jedi and Legacy of the Force, but they were in the shadows. So Sword
Mhm.
of the Jedi was going to be about getting the lost tribe out of the way to clear the way for the one Sith to be the main threat. Um, then we know that Jagged Fell would have featured prominently in that. So I'm not sure if that would have been a story thread in Sword of the Jedi. But afterwards, there was supposed to be another 9-book series that they never had written. So
Mhm.
that's probably what that series would have been about. And there was also going to
Gotcha.
be a trilogy with the Anzadi as the villains. They're the people with the tentacles come out of
Mhm.
their nose and suck your brains. And they would have been the villains for a trilogy as well. So there was a lot of stuff going on that we sadly never got.
I I know that Sword of the Jedi is written, right? It was just never released.
So that's the thing. The author denied that she ever wrote any of it, but there was
Uh,
literally a cover for it, and it was literally like months away. So surely she wrote some of it, right? She's
yeah,
probably like got this thing with Disney where she can't say like a non-disclosure
gotcha.
agreement, something like that. But she probably wrote some of the first book, maybe outlined even the second or third. We don't know how complete it was, but we assume it was to an extent
Mhm.
complete. They literally had a book
Yeah,
cover for it, so and promo art.
for
So
sure.
yeah,
For sure. I would definitely like for the project to, gain traction and get big to a point where we could speak to writers about these things,
mm,
like the people who are actually making the stories and
yeah,
be able to maybe not continue it, but give it a conclusion, like
yeah,
just have some type of ending and then jumping into legacy, because like one of the things that I wonder about is like you've seen Cade in the legacy comics, like he's
yeah,
nothing like Luke.
no,
So I wonder if Ben because Ben had a love interest that was from the one tribe of the Sith, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if, I wonder if
Yeah.
that went
Ben
forward
would have gone a
because
little
of
different.
Cade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, that's that's like a kind of like a headcanon of mine that, Ben and his love interest got together, and that's why Cade is the way he is. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That could be her name is Vistara Kai. That could be like
Mhm.
her influence on the genes that has Cade so edgy because she was literally a Sith.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um I think so technically there's a couple generations in between because after Ben there's
Mhm.
an unnamed son and then it's Cole who's Cade's father. But I
Mhm.
definitely think that could work. We don't know anything about who Ben's son was. Maybe he was really edgy too, just like Cade.
Yeah.
Those are sadly stories we never got to see.
Yeah,
So
man.
when are you planning on starting this project, and what are you first hoping to cover? And how? I guess another question is, what do you think the timetable on the project will be? How long do you think it will start to get things in motion?
Mhm. Um, right now I'm still getting people on board. I've gotten a couple of people. I got a guy that he is a writer, so he would be
Mm,
able to, help us adapt it
yeah,
into, um I got Red, but he's always like he's pretty busy. He's a pretty busy guy, so it's hard
yeah,
to get him on the phone, but um and I'm just like really hoping to bring in more people. Like
yeah.
my sister does drawing, and I got her into the U around the same time. We read the Thrawn trilogy together,
Nice.
so yeah, she's gonna
That's really
do a lot
cool.
of the concept art. Yeah, she's gonna do a lot of the concept art and storyboarding. I'm learning to draw myself to be able to do a bit of storyboarding too. So I ordered like a drawing tablet off Amazon. And
Nice.
yeah, man, we need like voice actors. We need what is it called? The lore masters, like I told you. I have a buddy that's gonna make some of the music that we would still need, like if we needed like a, I don't know, Jason Solo theme song, or you know something like
Yeah.
that, he would be able to make it. um I'm trying to look for somebody to deal with sound effects and sound engineering and that type of
Mm,
stuff. um I know how to edit, but I'm looking for like a good editor that
mm.
can, put together a movie or a show, because I've done YouTube videos. I haven't done a movie or a show, so I have no experience with that. And let me see. Let me open up my little, because I have the notes for what I want exactly. Um yeah, so we need script writers, editors, fight choreographers, because on the fight
Mm.
scenes I was hoping to film an actual fight and have like people roto animate on top of it.
Gotcha.
So it looks more
Yeah.
realistic.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, we need voice actors, sound engineers, music composers, storyboard artists, concept artists, and like lastly the animators.
Mm.
So I was thinking about getting people from here, from Brazil,
Mm.
to animate it, because I feel like it would be more affordable, because of the
Yeah.
currency. But um yeah, man, just it's gonna be all like funded by the people who are in the project. So
Yeah.
um it has to be something that makes sense, something affordable.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was thinking about um getting the animators to build 2D rigs.
Mm.
So like it's basically a 2D character, but it's also a 3D character. You can
Okay.
like move it around instead of having to draw it in different positions and stuff. So I think that
Gotcha.
would speed up the process a lot. And um yeah, man. I think the hard part is like finding like freelance animators that are like good with their stuff.
Mm. Yeah.
But Yeah, that's just where I'm at. Getting people involved with the project. I already have the vision of the art style and, like all that sort of stuff. Just need I need people to hop on and so we can like all sit down and talk it out and read the books together and decide what stays, what goes.
Yeah,
Everything is still gonna be in the canon, but I just think that there are like certain scenes that we don't have to make, or
yeah.
certain dialogue that doesn't have to be there. So
But
it's just more.
the flow of a
Yeah,
book or comic doesn't necessarily match that of a show or movie, so some stuff might need trimmed, stuff like that.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, man, I'm just really on the stage of getting people on board and starting to work on this. I've been going pretty hard on these past couple days, just putting everything together. I put a board together of the art style of the
Mm.
project. I don't know if I can like show it to you or if there's a way to do that.
There's a share screen option. There's a button that says present,
Oh, present. Yeah, yeah. Share screen. Okay.
and
Um,
it should pop up, and I'll be able to add it in.
oh, okay, okay. I see it now.
All right.
Yeah, so I made this little presentation of the art style that I was thinking about
Oh,
making
very
for it.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah, so like
utilizing a lot
very,
of Jander Sema's stuff from Legacy.
yeah, and also like tying in with the DC animated movies because that was my vision for it. Like I love the DC animated movies, and I think that that style like would fit well within Star Wars.
Yeah,
Um, I of course like the colors, I wanted to keep it more towards like the legacy stuff, but
gotcha. So slightly less
yeah,
bright than
definitely.
some of the DC stuff.
Yeah, the DC stuff is like super colorful, and I don't know, Star Wars is more like grimy and yeah, more like a little bit darker tones, but
I see the Invasion
yeah, this
comics
is
there too. Yeah,
yeah, for like more naturey stuff, I wanted these types of colors for it, but yeah, it's
looks
definitely gonna
good.
be like a mix of everything.
Mm,
Um, but the reason why I even had the idea in the first place is because when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of the um like Static Shock or Justice League
mm,
Unlimited,
yeah,
and that was like I think a universe that was pretty well put together in terms of what is it called? Like it was a bunch of stories that were interconnected
mm,
through shows and movies,
yeah,
and I just think that that would fit well within Star Wars, especially the EU,
yeah,
because like that little formula of making stuff that they did, I think it would fit well to adapt because there are so many stories, so many characters, so many like different time periods
yeah.
that have to go on over a long time.
Mm.
So yeah, I just think that that would be pretty good to adapt it into. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The DC movies and shows universe, has connectivity between different medias. So just like how the
Mhm.
EU with all the books and comics and stuff, different media, but it all like told one story. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure. Because you can't really adapt all of this into like live action movies or unless you want
no,
like the Marvel stuff, like 30
yeah.
movies in the same universe.
You could
Um,
probably use a whole trilogy just to tell the story of Heir to the Empire. Like, there's just so much they'd
honestly,
have to cover.
and it's like, what would you do with New Jedi Order? You
Yeah.
know, like how would you tackle that problem other than in a show? Like there's no way
Yeah.
to really do that. But
I mean, 19 books and they're all absolutely jam packed. And then there's short stories and comics that are in there
mhm,
too during that time. And there's so many characters. And how would you even tackle the visuals of like Yuzon Vong ships and technology
mhm.
on screen? It would just be a huge, huge project. But I think that could probably be done in animation. Like the Yuzon Vong would look
Yeah.
really cool in animation style. So what So right now you're kind of going through the EU to see what's like essential to the story that you'd want to tell.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I have a vague idea, but also I don't know everything.
Mm.
So like I think True Sabakura, Courtship of Princess Leia, maybe the Nagai invasion. I don't
Yeah.
know what else before Heir to the Empire is really important other than those three. I can't really think of anything else right now, or I just don't know of the existence. But
Those are probably the
um
most important ones. I don't think you'd want to do bounty hunter wars. Those are not very well liked by some people. Maybe like
I've heard that.
Shadows of Mindor is one that's kind of ties into the old Marvel comics.
Hmm.
But
Got
yeah, I
you.
think you got the most important ones with Courtship, Drusut Bakura, and it would be really cool to see the Toph Nagai War. Like that.
Hmm.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. I mostly want to do that because of Fen Shaisa,
Mm,
because I
yeah,
think he is important to introduce Boba later
yeah,
on. And also I think he's a cool character. Like I like Fen Shaisa from what I've
yeah.
seen from him.
I like his
But
armor. His armor is pretty
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, and then after that, Heir to the Empire, and then Dark Empire, Jedi Academy. I don't think it's necessary to really put Crimson Empire or anything else in that. Um, I haven't read any of the X-Wing books, so I don't know if any major events happen in them. Um,
They factor in some really important stuff happens in some of them regarding
mhm,
Coruscant in the New Republic. Um, but some of those characters feature again in New Jedi Order.
mhm.
So, you know,
Um, Corran Horn, right?
yeah, Corran Horn's one of the ones that will feature prominently in New Jedi Order. There's a couple others who pop back up in New Jedi Order as kind of side characters were introduced in X-Wing as well.
Got you, got you. Yeah, I think like from my understanding of what I know from those books is that there are major events, but the whole story is not like major events. So
Yeah. There's
maybe
important
I
things that
could,
happen like scattered around.
yeah, exactly. So maybe could adapt those
Yeah.
major events into there. Um, what else? I was talking to Red and he said about the Castillo books that they're not like good.
No, they're not.
So yeah, I don't know if anything important happens in there or if it ties into anything else in the future, but what I was hoping to do is, like go into the Hand of Thrawn and Young Jedi Knights after Jedi Academy.
Okay.
Um yeah, so I don't know if the Castillo books are important for that. I guess I'll get there when I get there,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then New Jedi Order, of course, Legacy of the Force, and then the Legacy comics being adapted also. But yeah, definitely want to do that thing that I told you about. Try to get in contact with some of the writers and um you know get their input or how they would have done it. Maybe get a
Yeah.
rough outline of what they would have done to finish the story and get some people on writing. But I'm also scared of doing that. I think that it has to be done the right way, you
Yeah.
know? Like it's easy to do what you want with the story, you know,
Yeah.
but I think the story doesn't have to go where you want it to go. I think it has to go where it needs to go, you know? So, I mean, Mara Jade dying is pretty sad, but it had to happen, it's important.
Yeah.
Chewie dying had to happen. Um, Jason is my favorite character, man, and he dies. So,
Yeah.
like I'm scared of trying to write something and ending up like a Disney or a Filoni type of deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Writing's probably one of the most important processes. Last night I finished the last Transformers film. from Michael
Mhm.
Bay. And that was a lesson to me in that you can have this $200 million budget and have a movie that looks really good. But if your writing's
Mhm.
bad, the whole movie's bad. Even if you have these
Yeah.
great set designs or these great special effects or these great actors, you can ruin it all with bad writing. So, like, writing's probably one of the most important parts, of any
Yeah.
project.
No, of
So,
course. I mean, no, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like you have the sequels. They look great, man. Don't get
Yeah,
me wrong, they look great. But I would rather read a book that came out in the '90s than watch those movies again. You
yeah,
know, it's not all about visuals. I mean, if it was all about visuals, then fine, bro. We would have been happy. We would have been great. But the story is
yeah,
just not appealing to me, man. I
yeah,
honestly, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I don't really care for the stuff that they're doing because it's just the villain for New Jedi Order is so refreshing and a new thing that you haven't seen in Star Wars like at all. Like they have organic technology and
yeah,
they just look so different and it's a different type of threat. It's not another version of the Empire again,
yeah.
like
Exactly. Yeah, and it's not like a
mhm.
like a dark side villain again. So it's
Yeah.
just different in several ways.
Yeah, it's
And
refreshing, man. It gives you, I mean, like, I think it would have gotten so old so fast if they had to be fighting the remnant of the Empire up until
yeah,
the New Jedi Order. I think the Legends wouldn't be as great, like the EU wouldn't be as great if they didn't try to mix it up and throw in like Exar Kun here or
yeah,
like the Yuuzhan Vong and Abeloth. I definitely like them facing these new types of threats than
hmm
just keep fighting the Empire again over and over again. Just you know,
yeah. And
but
it makes sense that they were fighting like the remnants of the Empire at first, but then it
yeah.
was really bold to like throw in this long dead Sith from the past with Exar Kun, and then throw in these
Mhm.
Yuuzhan Vong, who were aliens from beyond the known galaxy and cut off from the Force, and then Abeloth, this like supernatural deity almost. Those are all like
Mhm.
huge risks, I think, because it was outside of the norm. But that's kind of what made the EU
Yeah.
great because they took a risk and it paid off. So realistically, the first project that you'd be looking at is probably Truce at Bakura, you think, or would it
Yeah.
be the Toph Nagai War first? Because the
Um.
Toph Nagai War is after that.
Yeah. No. So it would definitely be True Sabakura, and then whatever comes after. Like I just have a very general knowledge of it.
Yeah,
Like I said, but I think because I know that True Sabakura happens like literally right after episode 6.
yeah.
So
Weeks later.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think that that would be a great way to start it. Um people I'm trying to look at it from the perspective of somebody who has never read the books or
gotcha.
only knows about the sequels but doesn't know that there's a whole other universe. So I
Yeah,
don't want to throw them in with like, oh, here's this character and that character, and like I want to throw them in like, oh, okay, this is right after the movies, and then they can
yeah,
watch it from there and be like, oh, okay, who's this guy, like
yeah.
try to get to know the characters.
Mm,
And something that I was talking to Red about is like introducing characters in the show that were previously introduced before the Endor period.
mm,
And I just want to make sure that we do that right.
yeah,
So
gotcha.
yeah, I don't want to like pick and choose parts of their stories. I want everything to still be canon, still be true, everything to still fit together.
Yeah,
But I definitely like don't want to, because if you were to introduce everybody, you would have to go back like way, way back.
yeah.
So a couple characters that I'm worried about is Fenchisa and Lumia.
Okay, yeah,
Um, because they were introduced in the Rebellion era, so it's
yeah.
definitely gonna be a little bit of a different introduction or a weird sort of introduction.
If
I
you
was
go from
thinking that
Truce at
maybe
if you go from Truce at Bakura through when Lumia and Fenchisa factor in, the normal audiences won't know who they are. So you're thinking of like doing like almost like going back and covering that to an extent.
I don't know how they. I mean, I know that like Fenchisa. I think we can just. You know how Lando was introduced in Empire?
Yeah.
How, oh, he's an old friend and he feels like he belongs. I was
Yeah.
thinking about doing that with Fenchisa.
Gotcha.
About Lumia's, she, if I'm not wrong, people think that she's dead and she comes back, right?
Yeah.
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 So I was thinking almost being like either doing flashbacks, but I don't know how we would tackle flashbacks in Star Wars because that's something that the movies didn't really tackle.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I think we would have to like sit down with other people that are involved and talk it out and see what's best, you know, and
Yeah.
maybe even get like feedback from other fans and see how they would tackle it. But
Gotcha. Yeah.
yeah,
That's something I wouldn't have
Mhm.
even thought about, like how a normal audience wouldn't have even known who Lumia is if you got all the way to Legacy of the Force and we're covering that. People wouldn't know. I wouldn't have even thought of that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Now with Truce at Bakura being the first thing you could potentially cover, it would be so cool to see the Sea-Rook in animation style. Like,
honestly,
the idea of that has me really excited.
yeah, I think, man, I love their design. I think they look
Yeah.
so cool. Yeah,
For sure.
it's literally like space dinosaurs, man. Like,
Yeah.
who wouldn't like that?
Exactly.
But yeah, I definitely think that they're a cool race from the expanded universe. They're probably my favorite species from the expanded universe. They look so cool, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think that it's a great starting point, and it's an interesting story also because you have the rebellion and the empire, like, you know,
Yeah.
having a truce like
Yeah.
right early on, and then they proceed to fight on for a lot
Yeah.
of years afterwards. I just got introduced to Dala in the Jedi Academy, so
Nice. Yeah.
I'm liking her character. She's supposed to have been like killed off, but I'm pretty sure she didn't die because I'm pretty sure I've seen stuff from her in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
So
Pretty prominent in
yeah,
X-Wing and Fate of the Jedi is pretty important all the way in there. Yeah.
yeah. She's definitely a great villain, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. She's really cool. She there's a YouTube channel called Matt Wilkins. He's one of the biggest names in the expanded universe community of fans, and he talks about how Dala, like, she fails a lot, but she learns from her failures and like accepts it, and then comes back stronger the next time and the next time, and that kind of makes her a
Yeah,
great villain because she's humble enough to accept defeat, accept loss, and like change from it. So she ends up being a really cool character because of that.
yeah. I definitely think that she's not so proud as the other
Yeah.
Imperial warlords. You know, I feel like she doesn't. I feel like most of the Imperial warlords think that they're invincible. They think
Yeah.
that nobody will ever beat them because they're so powerful, or they have like X number of stormtrooper, or like X number of star destroyers. So you
Yeah.
know their fleet is so big that they can't be destroyed. I feel like she doesn't have that flaw. She's always like, we could be defeated at any moment. You know, like we
Yeah.
have to play our cards right. So I
Yeah.
definitely think that that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. One interesting thing about like adapting a book into like a show or a movie told via animation is books have characters' thoughts. So it's kind of harder to portray the emotion of what they're feeling. And that's where the writing, I think, will be kind of challenging to try to translate thought into what you can see happening.
Yeah, for sure.
So are you thinking that will be a harder part of the project to tackle?
Definitely. Like, certain thoughts I feel like they weren't so important,
Mm,
like, but also I would like to portray maybe through like facial expressions or
yeah,
like body language what
yeah,
they're kind of thinking. And I mean, what I'm hoping also is to get people to like read also from this,
yeah,
because I it's super cool to have like a visual of what's happening.
yeah,
But even with the movies, like if you read the novelization of Revenge of the Sith, for example, like it's way more insight into what's actually happening.
yeah,
You can never adapt a book fully because
yeah,
a book gives you so much more information, But
yeah,
yeah, I'm definitely hoping. I can't really give you an example right now, but I've definitely seen stuff from Jedi Academy, like a character having a certain thought, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could make them like, I don't know, have this certain facial expression, or
yeah,
you know look off into space, and you know people
yeah.
can maybe kind of get a glimpse into what they're thinking about. But
Yeah,
yeah,
body
I
language is
definitely,
important, so that's a good way to express emotion and convey that.
yeah, yeah. No, I whenever I'm reading, I'm like always thinking about, oh, how would I adapt it? How would I
Mm.
adapt it, or how like would I put this in? How would I put this in? Like in Jedi Academy, there's a part that I loved is whenever Jania and Jason run off into
Yeah,
the Coruscant underworld. But
yeah,
I was like conflicted about that. I was like, should I put stuff like that in, because it's really important for, like, I think character building,
yeah.
you know, but also it's not like a main event.
It's not
Um,
important to like Jedi Academy story, but it's important for building attachment to those characters since they're going to be really important later on.
yeah, yeah. Like something that I think Filoni does well with his Clone Wars is that I feel like the first two seasons are like filler almost,
Yeah.
but you get to like engage with the characters and
Hmm.
get to know them. So when they start going through important things, you already know their essence. You already know how they act.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to throw in like a little filler or a little lighthearted episode here and there to
Yeah.
just
Absolutely.
get to know the characters. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a great vision for a project, and I hope it goes well and you get the people on board that you're looking for. Um, is there a way to contact you if anyone watching this wants to help out and is one of those things that you were looking for?
Yeah, for sure. I can send you. I have a Star Wars EU meme page that I started recently, and I'm on there a lot. I think it's where I would like to um have those conversations,
Yeah.
because I was also hoping to post little updates on there too, so that people are aware of how the project is going. So
Yeah.
I think, DMing me on there would be a way to get in contact. If not, then if they're on your Discord, then just reach out to me through there, I guess.
Yeah.
Um yeah.
Absolutely. And his fan page can be linked in the description of the video. So, um, Future Me will do that, and you'll be able to click over and see that if you're interested in helping out. I think it's a great idea for a project to cover all of these different things because some people have like covered like Heir to the Empire, Dark Empire, like
Hmm.
here or there, but they don't go any further. So I think it's a great
Yeah.
idea and very ambitious to like kind of do all the important stories post Endor, and have
Yeah,
this cohesiveness to it. I think it could be
for
really
sure.
great. So hoping that all clicks into place for you.
Yes, sir. No, I'm it's definitely a long project,
Yeah,
I think it's gonna take, like, I don't know, man, at least 10 years or something like that. But I'm hoping that, we can grow and get more people on board, and um also hoping that Disney doesn't take us down. But um Yeah, I mean, I'm not hoping to profit from this. I really don't care about making any type of money or getting, I don't know, famous off of this or whatever. Like I really just want these great stories to be told in animation. You know, I want to make it accessible to most people because it really, whenever I see people talking about, oh, Star Wars is dead, Star Wars is dead, it really like it's painful to hear that, man. Like they
Yeah,
don't know about all of these other great stories that exist. So I'm
absolutely.
hoping to
Yeah.
be able to tell them these stories, But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very noble goal. And not everyone's a reader, right? So there's all these great
For
stories
sure.
here. Animation makes that more accessible to them, like you said. So
Yeah.
is there anything else you want to talk about with the project and
Mm,
any final thoughts that you have regarding it?
I think we covered it all. I think
Okay.
it's like still in the very early stages, like I said.
Yeah.
So I think we've talked about pretty much everything about it. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, in a couple months' time, if there's any updates, we can do this again. Talk about what's
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So it was really nice to get to talk with you, get to cover this great project that you're working on, and yeah, it's been really fun.
Yeah, for sure. Same here, man. Same here. I'll keep you posted, and if you even want to come on to be a lore master, I think that would be pretty great.
I'd be
Like
willing to help in any way that that you could use me. So yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I'd
for
love
sure.
to do that. Yeah,
Yeah, because you have a lot of knowledge from what I can tell. So,
thank you.
yeah, I think it would be great to have people with knowledge of certain periods. But yeah,
Yeah. I that's one more thing. I think we were talking, and you said on Instagram, and you were saying that you wanted people who knew like Old Republic and Clone Wars.
yeah,
To
because I stayed away from that, so I don't know
yeah,
much of it. I have a problem. I think that if something is super popular, I tend to like stay away from it. I'm like,
gotcha.
like I would just look into like the deeper stuff. I don't know why I do
Yeah,
that, but a lot of people were super into the Clone Wars or super into the Old Republic, and I was just kind of like, hmm, Jason Solo looks cool. I think I'm gonna go read that.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's cool.
But
That's
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So this was great. We'll talk about it again sometime, and hope all goes well with your project. Thank you, everyone who watched this, and make sure to go check out Sam's project and support it in any way you can.
Yes, sir.
So we'll see you guys. I don't know how to end a video. I'm very bad at it. So I'm just gonna end it now. I'm just gonna end it, and maybe even get cut off mid sentence here.